Happy Friday, everyone! It's Tatiana, your work from home dog mom, back with another video. Thank you so much to everyone that has checked out my videos and subscribed to the channel. I have lots more content coming for you, but for today's video, I decided we're going to do a little experiment. I've never done it, so we'll see how it turns out. But I have 2 chicken carcasses that I don't want to throw away, right? I bought 2 chickens for $1.24, 2 whole chickens for $1.24 a pound, cooked them down, took the meat off using the meat for my dogs, homemade dog food, and now I just have the carcasses of the chickens. We're going to be attempting bone broth with just the chicken carcasses. Now, I've made fantastic bone broth. It turns out so good when I use chicken feet, and I've never done chicken carcasses. So hey, first time for everything. We'll see how it turns out. Let's get going. All right, so my bone broth has been cooking now for over 24 hours. I turned it off. Grab 2 bowls. You can only use one if you want to use one. I just like to be a little bit more meticulous in making sure there's not too much crud in here. So take your lid off. And now we are going to be taking all the bones out of the bone broth. Now to make this bone broth, I used the 2 whole chickens, cooked both of them down, took the meat off, and put both of those carcasses in this pot, filled it to the top with water. Whatever bones you're using, you want to make sure they are fully covered with water. But once you have your bones covered with water, all you're going to do, the magic ingredient that you cannot skip, is adding 3 to 4 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. I like to use the organic apple cider vinegar with the mother. 3 to 4 tablespoons into your bone broth. Bragg's is my go-to. You can see the mother in the bottom. Then, once you have your apple cider vinegar in there, cover it, turn it on high. Once it starts bubbling, turn it down on low and cook it for 24 hours. After the 24 hours, turn it off, let it completely cool, and voila, here we are. Let's get all the bones out, and then depending on how it looks, I might want to run it through a strainer to make sure my bone broth looks good before popping it into the fridge for the remainder of the evening, and I'll take a look at it tomorrow. Now remember, dogs cannot have cooked bones, and by this time, there is no reason for you to keep any of this. Dogs cannot digest cooked bones. They will splinter. They can puncture their insides, which you do not want. And with the apple cider vinegar being in here, you can see how everything's just falling apart. But the apple cider vinegar takes all of the nutrients out of the bones. So you already have all the goodness in this liquid. So the bone broth is great for the immune system. It is, of course, great for joints. So to all my parents with the senior dogs or dogs that have any sort of issues that have to take glucosamine tablets, this is a great natural way to give your dogs joint support without having to buy joint support tablets, joint support liquid, whatever you buy for your dog for their joint support. This is great. And this can be done with any type of bones. But if you watched my shopping haul, you will see that I got 2 whole chickens for $1.24 a pound. And we are using the $1.24 a pound chickens to the max, to where we not only get the meat, but we also get all of the goodness from the bones to give to my senior dogs that are between 8 and 12 and a half years old as a natural supplement to help their joints and to help their immune system. So anytime you have bones, save them, freeze them until you have enough to fill up your crock pot and make a new batch of bone broth for you or your dogs. So let me just do a quick run through my strainer and see what we have on the bottom. As you can see, there is quite a bit of stuff still on the bottom. I don't want that in my bone broth, so I'm going to leave it in the crock pot until I'm ready to clean it. All right, next I'm going to clean out the crud from the bottom of the crock pot, pour this mixture back in the crock pot, put a lid on it, and let it chill overnight. And I will check back on it tomorrow morning and see what we have. And for bone cleanup, all I'm doing is putting it in a plastic bag, tying it up. If it's leaking, put it in a second plastic bag and then just toss. Good morning, everyone. All right, we are back. So what I'm going to be doing, since it's still liquid, this is going to be perfect for molds. So I have ice cube tray and then some paw print molds that I'm going to be using for this. And then I can throw it in their food, give it to them as a snack. But it is time to take off this layer of thin fat that's on top because I don't want that in my bone broth molds. And then we're going to start making molds, popping those into the freezer for today, and hopefully by this evening it's done. If not, we will take care of the molds by tomorrow morning. And voila, there you guys have it. That is chicken bone broth with just 2 chicken carcasses. And then once I'm done with that, start creating my molds. Easy peasy. And you will be able to see when I dip my ladle into the chicken bone broth that it's not just plain liquid. You can see that it is a thick liquid. It is a thicker consistency than just water. Even though it might look like it, it's not. Now another thing with the silicone molds is I am going to put them on a tray because when you lift them up, if they are pretty full of bone broth, the bone broth is going to leak because these are very soft silicone. They're not hard plastic molds. So if you want to avoid spilling, make sure you always have a tray for these fun shaped molds. And if you need to use a rag to dab around any areas where you have spilled some of the broth, feel free to do so before popping them into the freezer. And once I have used all my trays to create smaller versions of different bone broth molds, I will be using a rectangle Tupperware to freeze some of the bone broth. And once it's frozen, as I mentioned, I'm going to pop it out of the plastic mold and put it into a freezer safe Ziploc bag. And then when I'm ready to defrost it, all I do is take it out of the bag, pop it back in the container, let it defrost, and use it within 3 to 5 days. Which honestly, with large dogs, it's going to be used in the first day. And the rest of this bone broth will be used for today and tomorrow. And if I have any left over, then in the 3rd day. But I have a feeling with as little bone broth that we have here left, that my crew will be more than happy to finish it in the first 2 days. Well, there you have it. Bone broth complete. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up so I know that you want to see more of this type of content. But otherwise, make the bone broth, enjoy the bone broth, split it with your dog. Only thing is make sure it is not seasoned bone broth, and I will see you in the next video.